Hello and welcome to 110 Yards, the football coaching podcast. I'm Coach Aaron Page, a Canadian coaching American football in Denmark. Today, I'm speaking with a friend of mine, Kevin Mwamba. He's from France or lives in France, and we're going to talk to him. So, Kevin, how are we doing today? How's things, in the COVID world right now?
Hi, Aaron. Everything's going good. I mean, for myself, with the COVID stuff, it's just now pretty much everybody keeps saying the same thing. You have to focus on yourself and work on your projects, and you have a different perspective of life because all with all the fear, that people are going through, you kind of like realize that life just can go away just like that,
That's
just by a
true.
simple virus. So it's a pretty good period. Like everybody say 2020 is a bad year. I think it's a bad year for the world, but personally, I don't think it's a bad year. I learned a lot from myself, and you know, uh, I got tight with my circle and my family as well too.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you make about like personal growth throughout this because I had that myself and spent a lot of time with the family because not that we were forced to, but it was a nice change and not having to work and stuff like that. So, you know, growing up in France, how did you discover like American football? I know you played for the La Courneuve Flash,
Yeah.
and just let me know like what drawed you to the game.
Well, you have to know I started to know about football when I was around 8 years old. I never practiced it before. I just did flag football, with at my school when I was elementary school. So there was a guy from the outside who was actually a player who used to coach as well for the Flash, who when I was a kid was at my school, and I started to know about it by playing flag football. And after that, I got into games. The first game that I watched was actually the Patriots against the St. Louis Rams. So that's how I had to know football. But during my 8 years until my 15 years old, I did other sports because I couldn't find any club because the guy who was at my school just stopped doing it after 1 year or 2 years. And so I played basketball, football, soccer. I did also a little bit of swimming. I mean, what else? I do track and field as well at my high school. That was pretty dope, actually. Track and field was really good. Basketball, karate, and yeah, that's pretty much it. If I remember, a little bit of boxing as well, and you know, s- sports when you have to hit like boxing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when I got 15 years old, I met a guy in my high school and he talked to me like, maybe you should play football. That's pretty good. And he said there's a club that I know at La Courneuve. So I checked it out on Google. And when I checked it out on Google, I saw the guy who was at my school when I was a kid. So basically that the fact that I saw his picture like drove me to it automatically. So that's how I started. So I started football when I was 16 years old and I was playing quarterback as youth on the U16. So quarterback was pretty good. That was very fun when I started football.
Yeah, to be thrown right into one of the more pivotal positions is definitely like, you know,
Exactly.
it's like getting force fed by a fire hose because you get all that information and you're expected to do a lot of things. So that must have been quite a bit of pressure. I know you ended up switching to like tight end and some
Yeah.
offensive line. So how was that transition? And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but all your previous, sport experience with basketball, karate, a lot of that stuff probably translated well to football with the hand movements and your footwork and hand-eye coordination. So
Mm.
did you find being a dual sport or multi-sport athlete help you become a better American football player when you did start
Uh,
to play?
Actually, yes. The thing is that when I switched position to tight end, so when I got into youth 19, U19, I wasn't a good catching tight end. I didn't have good hands at first, but the blocking game was kind of good. playing basketball. I was playing five when I was playing basketball. So the base that you have on your feet, the lateral movement, stuff like that, kind of helped me to play American football. And with the time, the ability of basketball, catching rebounds and everything, got better than the second year of my U19 time because we had another coach at my position, and he tried to when he was teaching us how to receive the ball. So basically, he was try to give another view of it by talking about basketball. So as soon that I did the connection, I start to get better and better, and after I just kept working every time that I have the when I have to practice. So that was pretty good actually, and also with the karate stuff with the hands, when you have to block, place your hands,
Yeah.
like how to say wax on, wax off, this stuff. So that was kind of that helped me a little bit. And the thing that wax on and wax off is the example that I give to a lot of kids. Like if you saw Karate Kid, if you did a
Yeah.
little bit of karate, you understand the point of wax on, wax off. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty funny.
I like that. And so after U19, you moved on to the senior program,
Yeah.
and how did you find playing there as a level up? And I also know we can tie this in because you played in the GFL um, as well. Did you find difference in the competition and between the two countries, and was it a major step up going U19 to the senior level, especially with a team like the Flash?
Yeah. So the change that I had, I mean, the opportunity that I had at this time was on my second year, the end of my second year of U19. We lost in the playoffs, and the coach, so the head coach of the senior team, asked to the office if he could put me on the team for playing with the senior. So that was in 2011, and I mean, the office and one of my coaches wasn't okay with it because they thought I wasn't ready for it. So the head coach is a little bit of forcing, and I end up to play with the senior. So that was I wasn't scared at first. I was just like, I know physically I'm not at this point already. I was built, but I wasn't big as I was today. So that was the thing that was like, yeah, maybe I'm not ready for it. But after the first practice, the other coach, the other players, the older players were surrounding me pretty good. Like they have good tips for me. They will keep clapping hands for me. They were like, it's okay, you get better. But that was also hard on me, right? So that was pretty good, and that was good help for me after that. So
Yeah.
which means when I finished my year and I got to the senior after my last year of U19, that wasn't that hard. Actually, that was pretty good. The only thing that I need is to have opportunities because I wasn't a starter as well. uh I tried to understand why, because for me I was just that good. So at some point you have to humble yourself, and when you humble yourself, you just start working a little bit harder than you have to, because not everything's going to be handed to you, so you have to go get it. So that was a good and hard transition at first, but as soon as you start how it's going to work for you, if you want to play, just have patience, keep working, and the opportunity will come, and you're going to have to do whatever you do. And the difference with the GFL is the GFL is another level. Like for me, GFL is just playing with the national team at the European Championship, but every week. So, practice was different because for me, I think that we were more when we are in GFL sometimes than, because in France, you have people who are working kind of late, so they cannot make it to the practice every time. But in GFL, I feel like in Germany, the working schedule is a little bit different. So which means like players could be able to do whatever they want to do after work, which I think is pretty good because the more you are at practice, the better you're going to be.
Yeah, and I think that's like on a side note, I find the most successful teams in Europe, no matter what country or level, is the ones who get the most attendance at practice, which I mean only makes sense. And so
Mm.
you mentioned playing in the national team, so obviously a lot of work went in as you weren't a starter right off the bat. with the Flash,
Mm.
but you put in a lot of work and got to represent France at the national level. And what was that experience like? And was it like was it did it feel really good, to represent France in that type of platform?
So my first year with the national team was at U19. We played the 2011 European Championship in Sevilla, in Spain. So that was pretty good for a first experience. I mean, at that time, I was very proud of it because, like, playing for a national team in every sports in the world is just feel good, right? Because
Yeah.
they call you because you were one of the best. That's it for me. That's how I see it. At that time, that's how I saw it. So that was pretty good. I got a little bit of pressure because when I go there, for me, it's just I'm not just representing myself. There's also I'm representing, my family as well. I'm representing my coaches who coached me during all this time for me to get there. So it was pretty good. And after when I get into senior, um, I didn't play the European Championship in the one that happened in Austria. I think that was in 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Yeah,
believe, yeah.
yeah. This one I didn't participate. I didn't went to this one because I think I missed too much training camps due to studying. So basically, that was the I couldn't make it. So and even myself, I don't feel that I would have made the team at this time because I wasn't. I had a little bit of hard time with the playbook, to be honest. So I don't think I would have make it anyway. But after that, so 2015, we have Coach Izume, who was there, and at this time that just changed everything because of the culture that it brings in, the coach that it brings in, the mentality that it brings in as well, and also the playbook. The playbook that we played was very similar for what I'm playing with the Flash, so that kind of helped pretty good. The names were different, but that helped a lot. And playing also with Paul Durand, the quarterback, with me as well at the Flash, and also quarterback at the national team at that time. So that was pretty much that was an easier transition, right? And same thing, I wasn't a starter as well at the beginning with the national team because the guy in front of me was just better than me. But it was better than for me. It was better than me at blocking. So same thing that I told you, like when I was with the Flash as a senior, I have to humble myself again because I think I was ahead, I was above my head at this time as well.
Yeah.
So same thing, I have to humble myself, know on what I have to work on, and also try to be friendly with the guy in front of me, right? Because when we have a competition, but I mean, if I'm not getting along with that guy, I'm not gonna be able to be better myself, and even him, and even for the team as well. So
Yeah.
that was pretty good actually. And after the World Cup in Canton, Ohio, so for the World Games at that time, I started to become a starter, so that was pretty good. And the thing is, when you do stuff, when stuff like that happen to you, as soon as you get the starting spot, the thing that's interesting is that you have to you you have to keep the mentality that brought you at this spot so that it won't happen again, so that you don't go back again, so you're still good. And once you do that, and once you understand that, which is not bad, then you're just gonna get better and better. But some people could see that as bad, but it's not that bad. It's just that you still want to be the best. So
Yeah.
being the best doesn't mean you have to be an asshole. But
That's
some
true.
people see it like that.
Yeah, and they learn the hard way eventually. But going back to when you and I first met at the Europe's Elite Level Up camp back in 2018, you had
Yeah.
made the transition into coaching. But before we dive into that, I just want to tell that story of our connection in the past too. There was that you were coaching the O line group. There was that young guy, Alex, I think was his name, but Jeskalainen. Remember the little Finnish boy who never
Oh
smiled,
yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
yeah, him.
every day, so everyone listen, every day we would try to get this kid to laugh, and me and Kevin would be sitting eating lunch, and he would come by and he'd be like, "Hey man, smile, and he was almost doing it on purpose at that point.
Yeah.
And so fast forward, I'm in Finland. I go and watch a game, and this kid used to be maybe up to my shoulders, and I go watch this game. Who do I see? This kid, and
Him.
first time he smiled in a while because he saw me, but he was now this much
Yeah, it
taller than
was
me.
taller.
Yeah, he
Mm.
was about 6 inches taller than me, and I'm like, we got to get a picture and send it to Kevin, and so we did, and I sent you that. I said, look who I found. I'm sure you
Yeah, that
were.
was funny. I remember that picture.
Yeah, yeah, that was great. So, but yeah, so and we actually had a small conversation. I was doing my podcast more in a smaller format back then too, talking about you coaching. At what point did you make that transition into coaching the U19 squad? And obviously some of the lessons you learned, you wanted to pass that on to the younger guys, so they don't go through what you went through. Now, do they listen? Maybe, maybe not, but I'm sure that was some of your motivation in going that route.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's the thing about coaching. That my first motivation for coaching is just that I want to give back what the coaches gave to me, right?
Yeah.
And for me, coaching is just that, just um, giving back. Like that's just how it is. It's just you give back what they taught you, and also you don't want them to make the same mistakes as you did when you were a player, right? Like humbling yourself, don't go over your head, keep working, watch videos, stuff like that. So I started coaching, to talk about it first. I started coaching when I was 18 years old. So now it's been 10 years that I've been coaching football. Um, I started with the U14. That was and U16 as well. That was that wasn't that hard, but it's just that you have to understand. At first, when you start coaching, you think that it's just about yelling, doing your drills, correct them. But
Yeah. X's and
when you go
O's and all that stuff. Yeah.
X's and O's, yeah. But when you get deeper than that, it's just way different. Like it's not the same. It's just you start when the season go further, you're just noticing that you're gonna have to face some problems. Like you don't have enough players at practice. Okay, what do we do now? This player doesn't understand how to do this movement. How can I make him understand how to do it? You don't teach football the same to every players, right? Some players, talking about the attitude problems, sometimes some players will react a different way, some players will react in a good way, but sometimes in a bad way. So you have to figure out how you're going to have to address this player so you could still keep going with you at practice, so you don't stop playing football. Because some players, I saw that when I was a player, some players just quit because the coach was way too hard on them.
Yeah.
That's just sometimes it's just like that. Some players will just that will stop because that's too hard for them. And so that was pretty nice. And after that, so 2000, when I was 18, so I think that was in 10 years ago. So 2010, the last after my second year, I coached. I still coach U16, and I started to coach the ladies as well. Coaching the ladies is way different than men.
Ooh, I'll tell you, because
Yeah.
I coached the women's team in Finland. So yeah,
Mm.
carry on. But yeah, I completely agree.
We could talk about it. That's very hard.
Yeah.
That's way different than guys, because guys, you just show them they're just gonna do it. They're not gonna ask, why do I have to do this?
Yeah.
But ladies is just that's kind of good, because for you as a coach, when you go back to your house, you like, maybe I should put more details on the explanation of that drill, because like if I don't tell why you have to do this, so she's just gonna not gonna do it. She's not gonna understand. But fast forward, so I coached the U16 ladies. So my third year, I think that was my third year. That was in 2015. No, 5 years later, I I became head coach of the U19 team for the first time. I was a little bit afraid, not afraid, yeah, because the so my former head coach was one of my assistant coach, and one of my former OCs during my U19 year was my OC also this year. So I was kind of a little bit scared because I was like, man, I'm younger than them, so maybe they won't listen to me if they're not okay with the message that I wanna give back. And for my biggest surprise, that wasn't the case actually. They told me that you tell us what we have to do and we're gonna do it, but if we think that's not very, if it's not going in a good way, we're just gonna talk about it and see how we can work this out. But I was the head coach. He was the OC, he was the D line coach, and that's how it worked. So that was pretty good actually. I liked it because that showed me that even guys that I respect a lot are able to to humble themselves and just like follow the lead, if I could say that. So that was very very good. Um, and also, yeah, coaching was nice because there was a lot of players who taught me a lot of stuff as well. Uh, Learn how to listen to someone, like listen to their problems, because they are coming to you for that. Sometimes I know players who have a lot of problems, even
Yeah.
at a younger age, and just for them to keep coming to practice remind me a little bit of myself when I was younger. And I had some coaches who helped me through a lot of stuff, and that's one of the things also I want to give back to players, right? Just I'm not just your coach. In French we call that éducateur sportif, so sports educator. So I mean educator sports. Before
Yeah.
I'm your coach, I'm an educator first. So that's kind of good, but sometimes you also have to put some limits so that players don't think that that's the recess.
Yeah,
Like,
you,
I
you
mean,
don't you don't want them to walk all over you. And I mean, it sounds like, from your coaches, working under you, it was a great environment to have mentors of your own, allow you to grow as a coach and sort of say, we're going to let you do your thing, but we'll pump the brakes if we see something, we've been through this before maybe, so we're not going to undercut you, but we'll talk to you and let you figure it out with us instead of like,
exactly.
that's a good relationship. And then, like you said, no player is coached the same, but also
Mm,
how do you have to find that way to lead with consistency and draw lines in the sand, but also be able to take care of your players' individual needs, which is definitely a hard balancing act to do. So, it's great that at a young age you figured that out, because it took me a long time to figure that out as a coach. Because like you said,
yeah.
yeah,
No, exactly. Sorry, but exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the case because just that was my first year as a head coach. We lost at the semifinals, the national semifinals. So that was kind of hard because for me, like I was, I saw the players playing, and I just got into my emotion as well. And after that year, I said to myself, I'm not ready again to coach at that level, so I'm gonna go back to something a little bit. I mean, not lesser, but something where I could manage and learn more, so I could be better. So after that year, I became again the head coach for the ladies. And my last year with the Flash, so that was 2018, I became again the head coach of the U19. And at this time, I felt I was ready because of what I've learned from my first year as a head coach, and all the years between as well. So that last year was kind of good because I chose with the football, the coaching staff, with the help also with the office, obviously. So we have coaches who say they want to coach next year, so we choose, and after we have to choose where we're gonna have to put them, right? And so I chose Stefan Fortes, one of the receivers who also played in Finland and the national team. One of the center of the elite team as well, a former running back who used to play for the elite team as well. We have one of the linebackers of the elite team who was the DC, and we have another one as well who was the cornerback of the elite team. So that was good because that was a good mix, right? We have older coaches. Um, I used to coach, and now I'm coaching with my teammates. So, the vibe was pretty good. So if the vibe is good with the coaches, it'll also be good with the players, right?
Yeah. And if they see that from the
And
top down, it keeps flowing down basically.
exactly. So which means everybody was on the same page. So that year we went, if I'm not mistaken, we went undefeated, and we lost on the national championship game. That was a hard game for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I never that game was hard because everything that I prepared for the players, like during the meetings, like scouting and stuff, that's exactly what they did at the game. So losing that game on a pick, like
Yeah.
around the last second of the game, I was like, oh man, that hurts. But no, I was like, we did our best. I
Yeah.
mean, of course, you play championships to win them, but now I think that was also good lessons for the players. Some players went their way, and I think that was good for them, and that was also good for me. I would have liked to win uh, as a coach as well. That last year with the Flash, but it didn't happen. But that was a good one. That was a good one for real.
Yeah, and going back to coaching the women, I feel like when I went through my year in Finland as head coach of the women's team, I was also helping out with the men's program as well. But most main focus was on the women's team. I found that that altered my way of coaching a little bit too because I had to almost change my coaching style, and I made some mistakes, a lot of mistakes, but also did some things right. And like you said, some drills they wanted to know the why more and the logic behind it because it was I found not all the women, but it was hard for them to put in the max effort or to understand why they were doing the drill if they did not know the logic behind it. So that was a good point you made. But did you find that uh, helped your coaching ability in the long run having that position?
Yeah, yeah. I learned how to be patient. I
Yeah,
learned how to be patient there because, like I said, coaching women is just different. They they maybe don't notice it, but they challenging us for real.
yeah,
Because why like I told you, when you coach men and boys, like they don't ask questions, they just do it. You just explain to them and they just do it, right?
yeah,
But women, they are different. Before they do it, they need to learn why they're doing it. Like, why do I have to do this? Because if I could do that, maybe I could do it as well. But that's not a bad thing. Like I said, that's just a good thing because for you as a coach, you just have to work better on the way you talk also to the players, so that the direction are correct. Like they don't need to ask you again the question. It's simple and clear because the explanation are good. Let's do it. But yeah, that was good. Like I told you, patience. Working as well on myself as a coach. On the drills and everything. And yeah, that's it.
and I
Yeah,
find
because
the
no,
bond
go
with
ahead, go ahead.
yeah the bond with the women when they as a team come together is I wouldn't say stronger than like the like because with boys and men it's they got the brotherhood and they use that as
Mm,
motivation, but I find there's a connection that the women's team gets and they really play for each other when you can harness that, like that's when you have a good squad with the women's team, that from my experience. And I think more
yeah,
women need to
definitely.
get into the coaching as well on that side of the
Hmm.
ball. So
Definitely, the women, like when they come together as a team, is just like men. Like we hang out more. We have a lot of discussions. You met the family. If you have kids, your kids gonna get to know each other and play together. Just like we see as the men. So as with the men, I mean that's pretty good. That's a good thing. And what was the question again?
oh, just like that, you find the bond like with the women. They when they
Yeah,
come together, it's something special. And I haven't
yeah.
experienced that with men. Just it was just a different way, you know.
Yeah, it's different. That's definitely
Yeah.
different. That's not the same at all.
So now fast forward to today. Obviously, COVID put a hamper on last season. But what's next on the agenda for you as far as football goes at this point?
As a coach, as right now, I'm the head coach and the OC of the U19 for the Molasses dernière for them, and I'm also a quarterback coach for the quarterback and running back coach for the same team for the senior team. So, and as far as the players, just as a player right now, I just keep staying ready so that if I get the call, I'll be on my way. But as of right now, it's just football as a player is just not my priority as before.
Yeah, and that's fair. Same with me.
Mm,
We're similar in age, and I hung it up a little bit earlier, but we're getting a little older in football years, so it's harder to maintain your body. And how are you guys dealing right now with COVID regulations, or are you practicing at all, or anything like that?
So the last practice that we had with the elite team was on Monday because we got back to a curfew this week. So at 8 p.m. we have to go back to our houses and go out again at 6 a.m. But so for in that situation, what we do is just working on Zoom, doing meetings. Us, the coaches, we working, on the playbook, plays that what we need to work on those plays, right? And try to keep the players connected to football mentally and not just off the field because some players keep practicing, early on the day before the curfew, but not as a team. So which means we still have to keep their mind on the playbook, what we're gonna play this year, because we still think that the season will happen, but just don't know when and how. Because
True.
we are the one of the good things that the federation did is just that the different scenarios that we could have, like if we go back on the field on this before this date, we're going to be able to play this game, and the playoffs will happen that way. So that's why I think no matter what, we are ready. We're just gonna, the date will be postponed. That's just it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of hard. But the hardest thing is just like you can check on the players if they're practicing or not. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
So you're only gonna know it when they come back to practice, when we'll be able to do it again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Who's
that's
staying
the only
ready, and
thing.
who needs to get ready? And
Exactly.
I think we're lucky with Zoom in today's technology world, though, to be able to have those chalk talks, sharing the screen with Huddle. Like I've been taking advantage of that, but it's still it's something. But yeah, it's nothing like being out on the field. So we're all itching to get back on the field. I mean, I know I
Exactly.
am. I'm here in Denmark, and we're hurting to get
Mm.
out there. So, um,
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate you coming on. I think this was a great conversation, and you interesting guy, and you had a great story. I love, and I love exposing that and talking about European American football, and not just to
Yeah.
import guys that I've had on here in the past, but to guys that grew up in Europe and started in these club systems, and
Mm.
what your thoughts are. So I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you. No problem. That was I was happy to do it. That
Yeah.
was very fun.
Yeah, and have a joyeux Noël, and
Uh,
you know,
merci, merci.
prenez soin, mon gars, and thank you so much.
Il n'y a pas de problème, mon gars. On
Good.
s'attrape.